Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsy69 and we have the new update. We have new tanks. We have a new line, and it is the Swedish line. Today we're going to go from tier 10. We're going to look at the kranvagn. Stat-wise, the tank absolutely sucks. I mean, look at that DPM, 1,911. Compare that to the 50B and the T57 Heavy. That is over 1,000 DPM less than the T57 Heavy and almost 1,000 less than the AMX 50B. So not only does it have bad DPM, it has very poor penetration as well. 250 millimeters of pen is bad, so you have to run it with the calibrated shells to get that pen up to 270, but of course that drops your DPM even more. The rate of fire, it has a 400 alpha, the rate of fire 4.6, and your reloads 11.379 and 9.47, and it has a 3-second intra clip. It's a 120 millimeter gun. The shell velocity again is okay, but it's not as good as the other two. The aim time is also not as good as the other two at 1.9, and the dispersion is also good, not as good as the other two at 0.325. So on paper the tank sucks. The gun depression 9 degrees and the gun elevation, which is poor, at 10 degrees. On paper the tank is poor. It really is poor. Now I tested the tank. I tested the tank and I absolutely loved the tank during test. But what Wargaming did, they didn't want to touch the gun, they didn't want to touch the armor, so they nerfed the mobility to 30 kilometers an hour, and that really makes the difference. It really does, because you can't get there to where you need to be on time. It's not like a 50B that's really quick. However, what Wargaming decided to do is they knew nerfing the mobility would make the tank poor, which it has. Just the mobility alone has made the tank really poor. So what they decided to do is to give it the speed boost, the special speed boost that makes it go faster. So that was actually a good ad. I think Wargaming did a good thing there, and I think they've actually got a balanced tank now. I don't think the tank is absolutely fantastic. However, I've got nearly 300 games in the tank during test, so compare the tank now to during test is a lot different. It is a lot different just because of the speed alone. So if you're looking at the tank on paper, looking at the stats, you're going to look at it and think, wow, what a shit tank this is. But it's not a bad tank, considering how low the DPM is, considering how low the penetration is, the aim time, the dispersion, and even the armor. I mean, the armor's not great. It has a good turret. It has a fantastic turret. That's it. Pretty much that's it. I mean, the upper plate is quite strong. You are going to bounce shots. You will bounce shots, without a doubt. You will bounce shots. I mean, we've bounced so far 560 at the moment. We're going to bounce a little bit more there from the Object 263, but because it's an auto reloader, you have to be wary on, how can I put it? You have to play it safe, and it takes some skill to play these tanks. And I always say with the auto reloaders, if you've got a shot, then take it. If you can get some damage into the enemy and you haven't reloaded all 3 of your shells, then I would still recommend in getting that shot off. If you can't get a shot off, or if you're not sure if you can pen or anything like that, then it's definitely worth going for the reload, because of course if you've got 3 shells, then it's much better than having the 2 shells. So if I'm always going to stick to that, no matter how bad the DPM is, no matter if what the enemy's hit points are. If you've got a shot, then take the shot, because you might not be able to get that shot in when you reloaded that second shell. So you might only have 1 shell remaining. By the time you've waited 9 seconds or whatever it is, that tank might have gone. And also what you're looking at is the tank that you're looking at, the tank that you're shooting might not know that you've got one shell remaining. So you might shoot the tank once and then it might run away. So where if you're an auto loader, as soon as the enemy knows that you've shot all 3 shells, then they're going to rush you because you're on a big reload. Where the auto reloaders, they're not really too sure. They're not too sure if you've got 1 shell reloaded, or they're not too sure if you've got 2 shells reloaded. So that's why, again, I always try and play aggressive. Even if I've got 1 shell, I always try and get that shot off. Of course, again, like I've said, if you can't get the shot off, then of course go for that reload. So nice easy ace at the moment. I mean, we're going to show you, my stats are pretty good in it, but bear in mind these are during test, and the only thing that's really changed with the tank is the speed. So we do have almost 300 battles in the tank already, 294. We have over 3k average damage, but I have aced it like 109 times. But of course, that's nothing to be proud of because it was a test tank. I was testing the tank and they are very easy to ace. So next up we have Help I'm a Bug, a good friend of mine, really good friend of mine, and he's going to play this absolutely fantastic. And these are the kind of positions you want to get this tank in. Not only do they have 1 tank, 1 kranvagn in a really good position, they've got 2. So very good position with that 9 degrees of gun depression, which isn't the greatest of gun depressions, but it can still do its job. It can still do its job. Because you do have that fantastic turret, these are the kind of positions you want to be in. And always have support. Because your DPM is so low, you can't be on your own. If you're on your own, no matter if you've got 3 shells, 2 shells, whatever, you are going to be out DPM'd. You've got the lowest DPM in tier 10. You've got the lowest DPM in probably tier 9 and fucking tier 8. So don't get caught out alone, because if you get caught out alone, yeah, you might inflict some damage if you've got the 3 shells, but you're not going to win. You're not going to win unless they bounce most of their shots. You're not going to come out better. So it's a very difficult tank to carry in because of that DPM is so freaking low. So always, if you can, try and get that support. I have no idea what this E100 was doing. He has just cost the game. But I like what the enemy kranvagn is doing. He is making the most of the E100 that has played very aggressive, and he's decided to go aggressive with him. Now, if the Super Conqueror would have gone aggressive, if the Waffle would have gone aggressive with these guys, then they would have come out a lot better. But you can see the Waffle sort of sits back, the Super Conqueror sits back, and now it just really leaves the kranvagn, Big Panda there on his own. So if the enemy would have pushed here, a hard push, then they would have definitely taken out these guys and the game would have been completely different. But the Super Conqueror, I mean, he got a bit scared and he decided to sit back. So that's a shame, and I do feel sorry for that kranvagn there. He see the push from the E100. The E100 was just being a noob, but they made the most of him being a noob, whilst the green team here was focusing the E100. These 3 tanks could have actually been focusing these, but oh well, unlucky there. And the Super Conqueror now decides to push down, and luckily Help I'm a Bug does have the 3 shells remaining. He has also the kranvagn with him, and they work really well together. Really well together. He's going to get a HE shot there into the Waffle. There goes the kranvagn on his team. So it's now a 5 versus 4. It's a 5 versus 4, and these are the kind of situations where you've got nothing to shoot at. He's got 1 shell reloaded, so he is going to head towards the Waffle, and whilst he is on his way to the Waffle, of course he's reloading that 2nd shell. So if you can take the tank out, of course it's not worth reloading all 3 shells just to take this guy out. As you can see there, he actually reloaded his 3rd shell just in time, so he does have 2 shells remaining. He can see the kranvagn on the enemy team shooting. That is his 2nd shot he saw him shoot, so we know that at most he's got 1 shell remaining. Does get a nice shot there just before he backs up, and the T62 does manage to take him out. So all what's left is the Sheridan. He's on, I mean, he hasn't bounced a lot considering the position he was in. He's only bounced 400, so he's only really bounced 1 shot, but he's still on 5.1k damage. He is gonna He's only got one shell reloaded for now. There's his second shell. So if he gives him a little ram, he will definitely be able to take him out. He does take a shot, but with the auto reloader, he is able to get that second shot. So it's definitely a tank worth the grind. We are going to look at the Emil next, the tier 9, which I actually prefer over this. I haven't quite played the tier 8 one yet, but it's definitely a good line to grind. It really is a good line to grind. Don't expect massive DPM, massive penetration. Just expect turret. It's all about the turret armor on this thing, and use the turret armor wisely. So I hope you enjoyed it, guys. I'm Meadsy, and I'll catch you all soon. Bye-bye.